Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Press Start Podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, James, and today I'm joined by my fellow gamers and co-host, Shannon.
Hello.
Hello, Ewan.
Hello.
And Brodie.
Hello.
Cool. So today on the show, we're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro, some Nintendo previews, the death of Concord, and some more. Apparently, this recap is not very.
I apologize about the show notes, James. The very
One more Nintendo preview.
Yeah,
I wrote Nintendo previews twice.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Zelda 3 times. So we'll get straight into it. Obviously, let's talk about PS5 Pro was obviously announced overnight in a 9 or 10 minute technical presentation by Mark Cerny. It was quick. Very quick. I liked how quick it was to a certain point, but then obviously afterwards, I think maybe a lot of the gaps in the knowledge that we have about what the go is has kind of created a lot of discourse on the internet about it. So I guess just to get straight into it, what did we think of the presentation and how it was teased? And then how the intro was put out.
It was all kind of weird. Like, we all knew it was PS5 Pro. Like, even without all the sort of leaks that had happened. Can't remember if we've spoken about it much, but like obviously there was the leak, which I think we did speak about, and then the graphic that they dropped that had the console in it. Yeah, the way they phrased it as not sort of a PS5 Pro reveal and more of a technical look was just odd to begin with, and then yeah, how it was shaped with the first few minutes being about the PS4, and then the PS5, sorry, the original PS5, and then them dropping that logo, and then kind of a lot of really high level technical stuff, but not even like going into each thing and what that meant in real world terms. Like it was odd, but it was odd for the PS4 Pro as well. I think it was, like you said, James, it's good that it was shorter because it wasn't 50 minutes of nothing, but it didn't really reveal a whole lot in the presentation that they did that would mean a lot to anyone, to be honest.
I think you got the balance right. Like, I don't think they wanted to do a big song and dance about this because it's not the PlayStation 6, and I feel like they did everything they possibly could to make that point clear. If you compare this to when the PS5 was announced, that was a whole big kind of showcase, right? And even just kind of keeping it to 9 minutes, it was pretty clear we weren't really going to see any new game content or anything like that. I think they handled that aspect of it well. And it kind of reminded me of like a Digital Foundry video in the way that they kind of did the side-by-side comparisons. I think they really kind of hammered it home that this is really just like a technical leg up on the PS5 as it is currently. And it's for people that want to kind of, are maybe frustrated about the way that performance mode really cripples the fidelity of the game, and aren't quite satisfied as well with sitting on fidelity in a 30 FPS. Like, it very much seemed dialed into that niche of gamer that is kind of sat there in the menus, toggling between those two options, as, Shannon, I know you and I often are. That being said, I don't know if the console did enough to appeal to me, but I guess we'll get into the price and all that a little later on.
What does everyone think about the games that were shown in the Prezzo, just before we move on? It was a weird mix. I think Shadows was the only one that was kind of upcoming, but even that was not really shown or like touched on in terms of improvements. It was a weird mix of games, to be honest.
Yeah, there was like a focus, like they did like a little bit of a lengthier focus on Hogwarts for a bit, which I thought was a bit random. And then like The Last of Us 2, I don't know, like I think this is my...
Well, it's a PS4 game, really.
Yeah, like this is my big thing with like a lot of these things is like a lot of the games are old games as well. Like I feel like they really needed like I've always said like a game like Venom or something, like this kind of smaller game that kind of acts as like this kind of pseudo launch title for it, that kind of really shows the difference. Because even the differences that they showed with like say Ratchet and Clank, I don't know if I've ever played that game and been like, oh, the parade audience is blurry. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the they didn't do a very good job of selling it in terms of the actual examples. I feel.
Yeah. I think it works for the context of like we've all played those games, so it's useful to kind of see where the improvements in performance are.
Yeah.
That being said, like you know, these are the list of games at the moment that have that sort of update there for the launch of the Pro console. I have no interest in going back and playing any of those games. Like I've played them all to death already.
That's why, like,
it's
like
useful
Shadows,
tech demo, but it doesn't really
Shadows is
excite
like
me about the console.
the good one, I think, because like that's going to be something new.
Yeah.
That if you are not sure where to play it, like that is a good place to play it.
I
but
do
that
feel
being
like they should have maybe made the most of like those partnerships and gone like, okay, we have, you know, Dragon Age coming out, or you know, whatever else is on the horizon that I can't think of at the moment, and kind of really taking the opportunity to kind of plug those games again and show some of the graphical upgrades you're going to get.
I thought we would see a showcase announced, because at least that gives people something to look forward to in a week or two, in terms of like, we're going to show you new games in the next sort of wave of PlayStation games, but instead we're kind of just left with nothing.
I think that there'll be like a big blowout for Death Stranding, and I think that was purposefully not there because Kojima is back on stage, like for TGS, and that's like a big deal for them. But like
any future event though, like it's just a footnote. Like it's, hey, here's this new game, and right at the end, and it's getting a PS5 Pro mode as well, or whatever.
And it's not the first impression,
like,
which we've spoken about, like how important that is.
Like this was your opportunity to get like really into the weeds of like what the kind of technical side of it was, and I just don't really think they can do that in future. I mean, maybe at a state of play they could get away with it, but
to be honest,
at the Game Awards that ain't happening.
To be honest, like they had me at the beginning when they were talking about you know, picking between fidelity and performance. It's annoying having to pick, and I feel like ever since...
And neither are ever great either.
And ever since, like, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I remember that was the first game that I played that had 3 different modes, and I was like, oh, I don't know which one's better. And I just picked one and went with it. And I would really, like, kind of vibed with that idea. But then, like, it's come out now, obviously, that Gran Turismo has 2 modes now. And I feel like that's, like, kind of counter-intuitive to, like, the whole point of what this was. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point if you're just gonna have 2 modes again, but just on a different scale? Like,
I don't think we're gonna do away with that either. I think it's more just gonna be like they're better, like, and they're closer together. I'm hoping, but I still don't think it's gonna be perfect.
The shift though is like, so the new performance mode on the Pro is like aiming more for 120 hertz, right? Whereas fidelity is 60 at the kind of
Or I think
I sort of feel
they can unlock it. Like if it's locked, they can unlock it, and then you're at least getting whatever it is, somewhere between 60 and 120. Or if it's 30, then you can unlock that, and you're getting somewhere in the middle.
So the setting might be the same. It just kind of differs between whether or not you're on the Pro model or the original, I guess. If that makes sense.
I mean, that's kind of what happens now, like on Series S and Series X, as an example. Like, some options are just missing if you're playing on a Series S in terms of graphics and modes and stuff. So I'm sure that will happen. Just the other way. For PlayStation.
I think the way they were talking about like the big 3 kind of reassured me that we weren't going to stray into any of the territory at the moment that we have with the Xbox Series S versus the X. Like, obviously there's that ongoing discussion that the X is kind of being held back by the S, and it's delaying the release of Xbox titles and that kind of thing. I sort of felt like this was very just, you know, this isn't enabling anything new in terms of what you can render on screen or anything like that. Like, the graphical improvement and the extra power on the console isn't that consequential. It's really just about getting extra frames out of your games. Like, that's really kind of what it's all about. I don't know. I agree.
I'm
not a game
agree,
developer, but does it add much complexity? I don't know.
So extra frames, is it worth the extra dollars, Ewan, in your opinion?
Brodie, what's your opinion? I'm curious.
Brodie.
I feel like I've been hogging the conversation.
Well, when you woke, I don't think you were the only one that didn't watch it, Brodie, live. I think. Like, what was your reaction when you woke up and kind of looked for the price? I assume first.
Yeah, well, obviously I saw the American price, and because I didn't do the conversion in my mind straight away, I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then I sort of was reading the articles and seeing where it might land locally, and I thought, it's creeping out there. That's a bit stiff. But as you, I guess, consider the tech that is in it, like it's still pretty meaty in that sense. So I mean, like the price probably makes sense. It's just more whether you can justify it. Like we've said, it's a niche audience. Like I remember I bought the bloody Project Scorpio when they brought it out after the 1X, and like honestly, it's sort of that same kind of like scale up in terms of what this is. It's just for someone who just wants to be able to play their games and have them look a little bit nicer. So if you can justify that, then good. But I'm probably not the use case. Like I don't play my PS5 probably enough to justify it, and I think the games I'm playing look great as they are. So yeah, probably not. Like maybe if they start to dip the price in a year or two, like I might look at it if my PS5 starts to show some age. But yeah, look, it's expensive, but I think the tech does justify it. And as we'll probably allude to in the next point, like I think we should probably get used to consoles with this kind of specs being this expensive. So
yeah, I think it like as soon as you do the immediate comparison, right, to like a graphics card that you're chucking a PC, like this looks like a deal. Like if you were trying to get 4K 60 gaming with the kind of regularity that this promises, like I can tell you from like the cost of putting a 3080 in my PC, like you'd be doing stupidly well to get near $1,200.
I think all the extraneous stuff as well there, like a chair. I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but think about like a chair.
Oh,
a
sure.
desk,
Yeah.
Like, a keyboard. Well, I don't know if that's including. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there is a lot more. A lot of people have a TV.
Yeah.
I hate the PC argument as well, because like you clearly haven't used a PC with your TV. Like if you're saying that, like it's not a good
No, I
experience.
agree.
Or
I fucking hate it.
To a console.
Yeah.
And yes, a
at all.
PC can do your tax return whilst you're there as well. But yeah, it doesn't. If gaming's your primary purpose, like this is a bargain, I would say.
Yeah,
in that context.
Look, I don't think any of us want to downplay that it is a lot of money. Like everything, like it's $1,200 and then $1,400 for the disc driving. Or yeah, it's $1,200 without for the digital version, and then $1,360 with the disc drive. Just in case anyone hasn't read this info anywhere else. So it's a lot of money. Like for anyone, like that isn't, not that consoles were ever cheap, but like I feel like once you get near the $1,000, let alone like into the mid range of $1,000 towards $1,500, like it's a heap of money. But I think it's going to become the new standard. I think the Switch will be expensive, not that expensive, because Nintendo can kind of rely on software. But I think the next Xbox, like they're very much going for high end now, because that is what gamers want. Like they want 4K 60, and you need good hardware to get near that and hit it consistently.
Yeah, like the price of that technology will come down over time, but we're also like prices just always increase, even outside of a period of like the kind of heightened inflation that we have now. Like just things over time gradually cost more. So the days in which we spent $500 on a new release console may well be behind us.
It's also like I don't think the intention is for every single person to own this console, right? Like it is for the most hardcore of hardcore gamers. Like I'm sure some people will buy it and love it. Some people will buy it and not notice any difference. Like it is like, can you afford it, and do you care enough to buy something like this? And you're really the only person that can answer that for yourself.
I guess where I'm like, I would say I really fall into like the target demographic for this, because like I had that frustration at the moment switching between fidelity and performance, right? And I would love to get a bit extra power out of it, but at this price I really just don't think I can justify it. Like it's, granted I'm having a move at the moment, there's costs with that, like maybe if the situation was a little bit different, I just had to pay a bond, like it's crazy.
But that's fine. I don't think you're missing out on anything, and that's the good thing, right? Like, there's not going to be exclusive games. Like, first-party PlayStation games run great, and they have like your 40 FPS mode and all the bells and whistles. Like, so really, you're not missing out at least from what we know at this point, and that is the good thing.
I think the problem is they just need to announce more games, I think, because we know they have a lot
Just
of
in
stuff
general,
coming. Yeah. No, I agree. But then I also think they don't have a lot coming because these games take so long to make now, and then pushing these graphical fidelities so high, it's just going to get worse. Like, I genuinely feel that way.
I think what the deciding factor would be for me is if Naughty Dog's next game, like the new IP, if that comes out
Online
in this
is back.
generation, then I might have to go, do I get the Pro?
Well,
but if
and
it's
not only
that's
that-
not until the
But
6 comes
can
out,
we
then
just quickly
I'm happy
discuss
days.
of that? Like, if even the question, like, if it comes out this generation, their last original game was what?
My God,
20...
let's not.
No, but, like,
Okay.
I'm talking about the protracted
Yeah.
development cycles. Like, I'm not having a dig.
100%.
Like, but
Yeah.
that is
Well, they
where...
have to make money. Like, it has to be a guarantee that you're going to make money. But we'll be getting Uncharted, I feel, soon on the PS5 Pro. Let's do it.
I don't know. I feel like they didn't show enough of the, like,
just
the
to your
comparisons
point,
of old
James,
games.
I don't know how this helps. Like, doesn't this make development harder? Like, adding another SKU and, like, having to do it.
I don't. I mean,
Like, you would think it makes everything a bit harder, right?
I would assume, obviously none of us know enough about this topic, so I'm reticent to comment on it. But I think with, at least in the case of Xbox, like, that you've got a shitty SKU and a normal SKU. Like, but this way it's the other way. You've got
Is
like
that what the S stands for?
Yes. No, but do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at least you've got the base is the PS5, which is quite solid as is, and then you've got the Pro. So I feel like it's easier maybe to scale up than scale down, potentially.
I feel like there's less of a divide between the Pro and the PS5 as there is the Xbox Series S and X. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, I don't know.
I was just... Go, James, finish.
No, you do it.
I was just going to say, like, GTA 6 is obviously coming out, we would think, in the next 12 months. And I think, again, that would have been a great game to show. I don't think anyone expected them to show it. But I think when that is shown, if there are significant improvements to that game on this, I think that's when the price starts becoming different. Because, like, that isn't going to be on PC for at least a year, you'd think. And, like, if that does run better on PS5 Pro than anything else, like, that is when... I think we'll start to realize, like, is it worth it? Is it better? Is it a good enough improvement that people want to pay it? But I just don't think we saw enough of that.
I agree. I just need some. I'm not excited about anything coming. So, like, I don't know. Like, that's
Which is
the
fair.
Pro. And that's why I'm not excited for the Pro. Like, personally,
I'm sure there's like tons. Like, to your point about GTA as well, I'm sure there's like tons of PS4 owners that haven't yet bought a PS5 that then will when GTA 6 comes out. Whether or not they go for the Pro, I don't know. Like, I don't think it really...
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, if there is... Like, if we do see that and, like, it is 4K 60 on the PS5 and running, like, shit. Like, there have been games that have run, like, arse on PS5. Like, I feel like I've seen so many people being like, nothing is pushing the power of the PS5. Like, maybe that's true, but there are a lot of games that run awfully in both modes. Like, you're either getting a fidelity that looks like mud, or you're getting a frame rate that never hits 30. Like, and that is consistent. Like, we've seen it in Wukong, Star Wars. Like, it's almost every game that has an issue with performance. So, I don't. We don't know. Like, they didn't really show anything, which is frustrating because, from that point of view, I don't think anyone can actually speak with any authority on whether it's worth it, based on what's there.
Yeah. The pisser technology, though, the PSSR super sampling resolution thing, I think that's good. Like, I'm glad that exists on PlayStation's consoles now.
Yeah.
I presumably it's tied to the hardware in some sort of way and couldn't be kind of added to original PS5 models in any capacity. I really don't know enough about chip
it's the same with
architecture or how
NVIDIA.
that
Like,
works,
whatever
but
reason, like, it gets new,
because they
AI
gate like
technology.
the different versions of DLSS, right, to different generations. I've never
Tensor
really understood
cores.
like
It's
how
like a different,
like artificial that is. Or
well, it's the same with Apple and any other company that makes their own chips. Yeah, I also don't really know the benefit of using that over just like SFR, which is the AMD version of DLSS, which I think like the chip should be able to tap into, and I think Xbox users.
Yeah.
But in Sony we trust, I feel. Our king.
Think how good Astrobot's gonna look on it, guys. Kind of crazy.
They didn't even show that. Like,
No.
of all
It comes with Playroom, though.
Oh, cool.
Lovely.
Yeah, Brodie, I wanted to ask you the loss of the disc drive, because you were always speaking about your digital console. How
Always
does that
speaking
make
about
you feel? Does you feel ahead of your time?
Vindicated. Yeah,
Trendsetter.
on the cutting edge, it seems. Yeah. Yeah, look, do I want to say that I saw this coming and, I just predicted the market years out? Maybe I did. But, no, look,
I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah, look, I think it probably is. No, I think it's probably no secret that gaming is moving towards digital futures and all that sort of stuff. So, like, this doesn't surprise me. I don't love detachable disk drives and stuff as a practice. I think it's, I don't know how you'd go about it any other way, but I don't know. I see it as a bit gross, but at least I suppose options are options. But yeah, look, I don't know.
I quite like the modular nature of it. Like, I know it's controversial, but even not having a vertical stand, I'm for it because, like, I want it to be horizontal anyhow, and so
That's very specific.
I mean,
to you,
it
though.
stands by itself
Like,
as well. Like,
yeah, and not that you should. Let's not encourage people to do that.
Does the Slim? It seems small
yeah.
enough to stand by itself.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
mine's in a cabinet, so it's safe.
I guess I
Yeah.
just like the model being like the kind of like core model of it being as basic as possible, and then you can kind of like add customizations to it on there. Like you when you buy a car, right? Like you're getting it stock, but hey, I want the flashy rims, so like chuck those on there.
I mean, yeah, this was an argument I had all day today. I think as long as that cost cut is being passed down, right? Like as long as it's legitimately like they're looking at that and thinking, okay, if there's no disk drive, like we're removing $100, no stand, that's that. Like as long as it's legitimately being passed down, which you would assume it's to have it be as cheap as possible, so it's not $1,500. As a base price.
I'd maybe question if it really needed a 2 terabyte SSD in there. Like I know most people are upgrading anyway, but like,
then could
you not just give people the option?
But then,
they had
like,
to.
people would complain about that. Like, they would be like, what's pro about a terabyte?
Yeah.
Like, like, that would genuinely be the discussion.
An easy spec to, like, upgrade, I suppose.
I think, like, it makes it... I mean, when you think about... Like, if you were wanting to do the mental gymnastic to justify this, you could easily price up a 1 TB... a 1 TB SSD, on a disk drive or whatever, and work out that it's not that much when you do it that way. But I also think, like, from a business perspective, that what a lot of people don't think about is, I think this is also a way for Sony to cut down on shipping money, because you can fit three consoles in a box instead of 2.
Sure, yeah.
Like, which is like a huge thing for like how many they're going to be shipping over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're in trouble and they need to cut costs, but I am saying that is something that they would be thinking about.
Yeah, they also don't need
money.
to produce 2 SKUs. Like they're
in terms
just
of
doing
footprints,
the one.
you just make one SKU and then ship out the disk drives to people that want them. My concern for the long term here is like the disk drives need to be activated online, which I think is like kind of shit for the long term, which kind of defeats the purpose of physical media.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing to stop Sony from saying, oh, they're discontinued. Kind of like how you can't, like this is not the same thing by any means, but you can't buy new Nintendo docks anymore for Switches. Like that, like I feel like that Sony can turn around and stop making those docks.
Yeah.
I mean, disk drives whenever they can or want.
Yeah.
Which I think is like kind of shit, personally.
Yeah.
But I also recognize we're in a market that is much more physical than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We like getting physical here in Australia. It's true.
Because it's cheaper for a lot of people, like
Yeah.
especially like with like price matching and other like all retailers are in price wars all the time. Like I feel like that doesn't happen as much anywhere else.
No, I think that's a characteristic unique to our retail environment, right? But yeah,
Absolutely.
God bless it. I just wanted to call out the Wi-Fi 7 support too. Like, I think if you're in the States or whatever, and you get like a fast broadband speed to your house, then great. Like, you can also, like, Wi-Fi 7 routers also stupidly expensive too, right? So like, if you've made all that necessary infrastructure, network infrastructure improvements to your house, and like you get the fast speeds, great. But that doesn't benefit us here in Australia, because like the Wi-Fi connection to the internet connection to your house is going to be slower than what you can get from Wi-Fi 7. So nice to have, doesn't benefit us.
In saying that, like, my thing is, like, the price, again, it is expensive, so I just want to say that again. But, like, as long as, if the performance does end up being good, like, I'm glad they went all in with this stuff, like Wi-Fi 7, the 2 terabyte SSD. Like, that, to me, is better than, like, a $300 price increase, and, like, you're skimping, or, like, you wish it had this, this, and this, or it's, like, 5 frames per second better. Like, as long as the performance ends up being a noticeable jump, like, then I think they've gone the right move with it being high end.
It feels like an authentically pro model, I suppose, just with
without a disk drive and a stand
tag. Well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
I think at the end of the day as well, like, obviously there is a lot of vitriol online about it. You're like, this doesn't release and your PS5 blows up and you can't use it anymore. Like, you still
Not
have...
yet.
Yeah, maybe they'll put out a game that just pushes it to the limit. But do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I don't think people have to upgrade at all. And some people are like, I could just buy a PC. It's like, well then, go do it. See how you go. Let us know. Like, I feel like that's the beauty of a free market, is like you can literally buy whatever you want or not buy whatever you want and just leave it at that. Like,
is that what I call this episode? The beauty of the free market.
Yeah,
you don't have to
absolutely.
buy a PS5 Pro.
and just like have me on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Big eyes. But
I agree.
genuinely, like, I feel like people are talking about this as if it's going to replace their PS5. Like, I mean, yes, if you buy it, it does, but like, it's not actually going to be. Well, that's how it works. But like,
it's meant to be a premium model that sits above the PS5. Like, it's not replacing the PS5. Both.
I just think it's a little bit different because obviously the PS4, when that happened and where that was when the Pro came out, was so different to what it was for the PS5, right? Like, Ewan laughs at me all the time for saying this, but we are in a very big period of diminishing returns, and I feel like it is much more felt in this era of games than the last.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
Have I
argue with
laughed
that.
at you for saying that
You
before?
have.
That sounds
Every
really
time-
sensible. I apologize.
Oh, okay. At the time,
I've
you were
grown
like,
older and
"Ugh, I can't
wiser."
believe-"
behind your back, he doesn't stop
Yeah,
talking about it.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I always do feel like there's things that surprise you. Like, I think, like the super sampling, like that element of things, like that's been a really big improvement into the performance of games. And ray tracing as well. Like, I don't think we've really quite seen or like felt that as a rollout, but like these are kind of major technical improvements. I don't know whether or not you could say it's as like consequential as like HD graphics or HDR, that kind of thing, but there's always kind of new technology that's kind of bubbling up that demands a bit more power, and I guess the challenge is kind of keeping pace at a reasonable price point.
What I keep coming back to is, like, they have to have a reason to do this. Like, I know we didn't see it and they haven't shown it, but like, I doubt they're making money on this hardware, or very little. So you would think that there has to be like a tangible reason why they've put this into production and why they've gone ahead with it. So I'm still confident that we'll see that at some point.
It sounded like Mark Cerny had the data of like how many times people were like toggling the settings, or like...
I'm always doing it. I'm always going between when I play anything to see like which is better. Like, is it a noticeable drop in quality? Like, is it... There would
be like metrics in each game too. Like, I know like Ubisoft tracks everything you do in a game. So like, as an example, like, so
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else about the PS5 Pro before we move on?
I think we better
No.
move on. It's
move
been
on.
30
I know.
minutes.
Well, yes,
End show.
okay.
What the wiki?
Well, to our last bit of Sony news, which we didn't touch on, feels like about 20 years ago, but it was only a week ago, which was half the time you could have played Concord for after launch. So Sony have basically taken Concord completely offline after 2 weeks. They didn't say why. I think we know why. Apparently, even if you own, like, got a digital copy, it's been, like, taken off your account too. Like, it's completely gone.
Yeah.
So it's completely dead. I know Ewan enjoyed it more than
He's
any of
written
us.
a eulogy for us to read.
Yeah, Ewan has something he would like to say.
Yeah. Ready to play it out.
Yeah. So obviously, I think this news kind of blows a little bit. I definitely feel like it needed maybe a little bit more time to find its groove in a way.
Yeah,
'Cause
you've
2
got to
weeks
think
is
of like
nothing,
how
like-
bad the situation was for them to go that we have to just pull the plug now.
And after 8 years, like, of development, like, that is an expensive.
Do we
yeah.
do we think that they decided because Astrobot was coming out, which they thought was going to be spoken about positively, and maybe the Pro was going to be looked at not so positively, that they were better to just end this before it was dragged
No.
out?
It's not like doing this as a good news beat though. Like
No,
we
but
just
it's like good
forget.
to get out of the way
Would it
as
would
quick
it
as
have been
possible.
better to do that rather than just let Concord limp on?
Well, was it?
like-
Yeah, yeah.
Just you in the server.
like that
I-
sick dog in The Simpsons.
I feel like
Yeah.
they tried nothing though. Like they literally tried nothing. They could
Yeah,
have
like
done
that's what I mean.
They
Like,
could have done free weekends, put it in PS Plus. Like the only thing I can think is that they've just wanted to nuke it because it's now a tax write-off. Like
I think it's coming back. I think it has to.
you reckon
come
it's going to
back.
do a multiverse? It's coming
PS5
back.
Pro launch.
Well, yeah,
It's there.
I think because you're right. Like they could have just let it sit there and like try and improve it over time. But I think by taking it away and then presumably like stripping out,
It's going to create
like
a fervor
changing the
for it.
structure of it so that they can add like a free to play model in there and like charge people for things in the future.
So let's go back and develop it again for another year or two, and then
Yeah.
have it.
Well,
do
I
nothing.
think also, like, that way, but now that I'm saying it out loud, probably not the case, but I was thinking maybe if they have less, if it's not on, people don't buy shit, so when they eventually go free to play, there's no, like, bad,
Yeah.
what's the word I'm trying to look for, like, bad will with
Yeah.
customers, you know, like, selling people all these microtransactions or whatever. I mean, there
Yeah.
wasn't, actually, was there anything paid? From the- I don't think there
no,
was, now
I
that I'm
think
saying that
there were
out loud.
different versions of it that had like
Okay.
season passes and stuff for like upcoming content. No, the season
Right.
pass is probably the wrong word because obviously there was no battle pass or anything, but had like extra things. I mean, like I think credit to how they handled it, right? Like they obviously did need to refund everyone because if they just killed it after
Well, I mean,
2
it
weeks,
didn't
that would have
work.
been insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope it comes back. At the end of the day, there's a game there that, at least in my opinion, is a really solid game. That would be a shame if it just dies and is a tax write-off. Like
I played it for maybe half an hour, but there's certainly worse pieces of shit out there.
that are still
that are
going.
one of the
still
nicest
going
things I've
today.
heard someone say about Concord. Thanks, Brodie.
Yeah, put that on the box. Oh wait,
Yeah.
To Brodie's point, like there were signs that this was going to do what it did for months, like since it was
You can
announced.
say
and, like
flop. You
more
can say the F
flop.
word.
a sign.
flop, slop.
What?
Yeah, even the beta, like no one, like they made it available
Yeah.
to all of PS Plus, and then it's still no one was playing it, right? So like,
Yeah.
I am shocked they didn't have like some backup plans, like let's do a free weekend next weekend, or let's do this. Like it's not as if it just came out of nowhere that I wasn't going to do well. To
would've
me,
had
which
pre-order numbers. Like, I
Yeah,
remember
like
the
that.
beta was like pre-order only, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no,
Yeah, it
you've
was
got
open to
PlayStation
all,
Plus, you can
and
play
no
it. So
one
obviously,
cared.
like, I feel like I feel like that would have been some kind of
so
indication.
to
for
me, I don't think it's going to come back. It does seem very wasteful and stupid, but like
It
gamers
does-
are still shitting on it now, so it's never going to be a thing.
well, people are
unfortunately.
like saying that the Pro is so expensive because Concord
Yeah, like-
flopped, and it's like I don't. And but like I've seen that comment more than once from different people.
I've not
yeah.
been on the
It just
internet today.
it
That's
kind of just
hilarious.
indicates like
It's
how
people's entire like
stupid people are.
personality now, like Concord.
Yeah,
and
to make
what
fun
it
of
did and
Concord.
flopped. and Ewan scoring at a 7.5.
As like one of the few people that like gave the game like a bit of retro, like what's the word? Just like a history check on here, like around the Concord review, right? I gave the game a 7.5 out of 10, which in my mind is far from like a fantastic score. Like,
I also we just to interrupt you quickly. If I was paying for a review score, I don't know if I would pay you to give it a 7.5. I think I'd pay you to give it something a little bit better, personally.
Yeah. And like to the people that, you know, were saying I was paid off for that, like just check my marketplace profile because I was busy selling a sofa at the time. Like I was just
your review was so fair as well, though. Like that is what keeps shitting me. Like it stated all the facts surrounding it.
So
like,
many other people out there were giving it scores like in the 7s as well.
Because the fucking Gronks don't read the fucking things.
No, I know, but then don't come for us. Like fuck off.
Anyhow,
fuck off,
like
bro.
the game was absolutely flawed. And like I think, like as I pointed out in my review, like my fear was that it didn't do enough to kind of pull hero shooter fans away from what they're otherwise playing, and it kind of didn't do enough to pull people to like a hero shooter that hadn't had any interest in it before. So it was just in this weird, like awkward limbo space. I can see why it didn't kind of find an audience. What they did differently in terms of the game design resonated with me. I know that speaking with other people that are big hero shooter fans, they're just like, I don't want to have to switch between different characters. I don't want to deal with that complexity. I just want to main one, blah, da, 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 whatever. Like everyone's got a preference. A review is a subjective thing. But yeah, for it to just die at this when I think like gunplay was like super solid, they were doing kind of novel things with the storytelling. Yes, it wasn't as grand as we all kind of hoped it could have been, I suppose. But like this was really just the beginning. And you know, they supposedly had like a year of cutscenes like ready to go, right? Like the vignettes, like
I wonder if
all the animators that worked in this, like all the writers, like that material we'll just never see again. Like I have to think they strip out everything that was kind of, well, not everything, but I think they build in some kind of battle passy sort of model, reintroduce it as a free-to-play game, and by doing this as dramatic as it has, it gives them a new marketing beat to go, Concord's back.
Let's see.
Like,
if you've got
I
the
reckon
balls.
out of a morbid curiosity, people are gonna give it more time of day, particularly as a free-to-play game, than they gave it before, and they'll then realize, actually, you know what? Underneath all of this, there is a solid game here. The gunplay is kind of solid. This cast of characters are quite interesting. I reckon it has a second chance at life. But yeah, Shannon, you're right. They can't spend 2 years trying to do that. Like, it has to be a quick thing.
I don't know, but then what does that mean for that team? Like, it's so brutal, no matter what happens from here.
Put it on your predictions, Ewan, next year.
I think PlayStation have to put their money where their mouth is. Like, they're either in on this live service model or they're not. Like,
how do you... I guess there's more to lose with The Last of Us, but again, like, how do you cancel The Last of Us and then spend so long on this?
I don't think if PlayStation don't do right by Concord, every other release they have planned, Marathon, Fair Games, is dead. Because like, how is a community meant to buy in on the next game if they don't show that they've learned a lesson from this? And I think like the best way to do that is by bringing Concord back, saying, "Okay, we heard you. It's a free-to-play game now."
I don't actually think that was people's issue. I don't really want to get into like the weeds of it because I can't be bothered at this point in my life. But I feel like gamers were just wanted to hate Concord for other reasons, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the parallels to like Guardians of the Galaxy probably didn't help it, to be honest, right? Because like people just
I think it's just because it was a genre that's like done to death, like,
and it was woke.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
I think that's a loud minority complaining. Like, I genuinely don't think people didn't buy because of that.
Fucking loud.
Like,
but like they're doing an extraction.
I don't think
shooter.
PlayStation marketed
it. Done
it.
with extraction shooters as well, like.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Nothing is a guarantee anymore in gaming. I think that's the takeaway that we keep coming back to.
I just think PlayStation's like developed a really good reputation for putting out single player like narrative focused games, like, and they've done that by like putting out these great games. And I don't know. I mean, they were great from the get go. In fairness, like, yeah. I don't know.
That's just-
Maybe they should never have veered from that course. They should have just stuck to their strengths. Not
I
chase the
agree.
Fortnite money.
Hopefully, we never have to talk about it again. Let's move on to our next topic of the day. There's a lot to go, but we're going to keep on trucking.
Sorry.
That's fine. Could there be an age limit on gaming in Australia?
Oh, I forgot about this topic.
Yeah, well. So the Albanese government has reportedly looking into enforcing stricter rules for teenagers online ahead of the next federal election, banning social media and other relevant digital platforms for people under a yet-to-be-determined age. So question 1, should teens be banned from social media and gaming?
If they're bitching
Yes.
about Concord, yes.
If they're coming for us in the comments.
Yeah.
Within reason, I can see the argument for it. Like, online is, and people who are, chronically online, it's a very toxic place. And it's probably not very suitable for people who are still in their formative years. So I can definitely see putting some sort of limit. But isn't that sort of like what parental controls and stuff are for?
Yeah.
Like, the government don't need to be our parents. Like, let me decide when my kid can play a game, and under what circumstances. Like, I'm more than capable of that. But, like, what is the age limit currently on Twitter anyway? Like, isn't that, you got to be like 13?
Yeah, I would
Legally,
guess that.
like,
I
not that-
remember
not
like
that anyone
Facebook
follows it.
definitely being 13.
Yeah, so I mean, that stuff exists. But, like, how do you enforce it anyway?
Yeah.
I think they had facial recognition.
Well, were they putting fucking cameras in everyone's computers? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, everyone has
there.
a phone,
Yeah,
right?
they're there.
Shit. Is that what this thing is? No way.
I think it's like I kind of get this in one way, but then in another, it's a little bit crazy.
It's a bit
like,
dystopic.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Dystopic.
Like I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and like they all teach different areas, different years, all of that, and they all complain about how preoccupied people are with social media, especially during school when like you're meant to be learning and stuff. But then the other side of it that I think about is not everyone fits in at school, and they find their people on forums or like on social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it's like now. Obviously, I'm older, but I met a lot of people that I'm friends with now in real life on a Nintendo forum. Like, so that is like something else that I think is maybe worth considering. Like, it is, I think, to just lock all these people out of stuff is maybe a little bit, could be dangerous.
Yeah, it's definitely
in
a
some
social
ways.
outlet. Like, yeah.
But then, yeah, I agree. Like, I think people are missing out on very important, like, education because they're worried about, I was going to say be real, but I don't think that's cool anymore. But, like, they're worried about, like, I don't know, what they're doing in Roblox or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, and,
It has to, and this is probably Brodie to speak to more than us, but I feel like it does have to come down to the parent, like, more than anything, to, like, know what's good for their kid, limit what they're doing, and just keep an eye on them. I think it can't just be a blanket. It's not a one size fits all. Like, some kids will
I think
love
that's
sport and find community there, and others will find it online or wherever else. So as long as they're safe and it's in moderation and it's not taking over their life, like, it reminds me of all the current affairs stories about like Fortnite and like kids like pushing their mum into the wall, and it's like the most extreme
V-Bucks.
situation that
Yeah.
it's like applied to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's just not that case. And I feel like Albanese and the government probably don't have a holistic look on what like gaming and social media is for the average person.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this announcement is very much like kicking off the conversation. Like, this is an area they're exploring, and they're like looking for kind of stakeholders to be part of that conversation. I don't think like banning kids under the age of like 14 from using a PlayStation makes any real sense. Like, I don't understand like what the thinking is there. Maybe there's like certain online elements that, yeah, that's a factor. But I also think like in today's interconnected world, like, it's nigh impossible to kind of keep people away from certain subject matter, or I don't know, like there's obviously a safety side to this as well, and who they might be speaking to online or whatever. And I feel like trying to just keep kids away from that by imposing some sort of regulation around it is just going to be an uphill battle. And like, actually a better equipped talking to kids about it from a younger age and giving them the tools to know, right from wrong on social media, or critique the kind of things that they see, or know when someone's reaching out to them that they shouldn't be talking to, that kind of thing.
It's
also
also
feels more important to me than like trying to like impose a ban, which may or may not have any real impact.
It's hard because then also you think about how quickly social media is moving and how much it's changed even in the last like 2 years, let alone since when most of us grew up.
Yeah.
And we need to understand this stuff more, and like algorithms and what it does to all of our minds. But
I think
I don't
that's
think
actually a better
people out.
place to focus is algorithms and stuff, because I think people do get like caught up in this like awful content, and like it just keeps hitting them with it, and then I don't know, bad stuff happens, you know. So yeah,
I'd encourage people to take control of their algorithm, engage in the stuff that's like nice.
Yeah, I agree.
You want
I
to see
keep,
more
like,
of
screenshotting things I hate, and then I get annoyed that,
if you see a review about Concord,
and I was going to say don't manage any PS5 Facebook groups. I'd recommend not doing that.
Find the posts that you like that don't make you angry, comment on those, heart those, share those. Stop sharing the shit that pisses you off.
Let's all just be happy, and the world will be a nicer place.
I just have to stop sharing Jojo Siwa choreography videos. Like, I'm building
TikTok's gonna think you're obsessed with Jojo Siwa.
Yeah, and I'm not. It's the opposite, I swear.
Steph cooks.
Yeah. Just chuck it in an air fryer. Oh my god, air fry people. Enough. Anyway, moving on.
Nintendo, hey.
Let's talk about some Nintendo. No Xbox this episode. Sorry, everyone. So Brodie got to go to the Big N themselves in Melbourne. Or Scoresby, or wherever it is.
Scoresby, yeah, that's right.
Is it Scoresby? Yeah.
I don't know if that we should be revealing Nintendo where these reviews on place, but that's okay.
You could. Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. Brodie went somewhere to play two of the latest and greatest in Nintendo. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom and Super Mario Party: A Jamboree. Brodie, you famously dunked on Zelda.
Let me stop you right now.
Very square, I believe.
If you want to hear an about face, if you want a complete U-turn, you're about to get it. Because having played an hour of
wined and dined by the Big N.
That's right, of the Big N of Scoresby.
Undisclosed location.
Literally a couple minutes from my work. That's if you need to remove this, let me know.
Just doxing yourself in the same
literally.
Only my workplace. I don't care about that. Anyway,
how many minutes from home is that?
Give us the route.
As the crow flies, it's 64 k's. Now, yes. So, Zelda. Let me refocus. We're gonna have to cut a bit of that out. Okay. So, yes, basically, I went from being completely unconvinced about this game to actually wanting to play it quite a lot. It's very clever. I love that, obviously, Princess Zelda's getting her moment. And that they haven't necessarily felt the need to make her a warrior like Link. I like that they've found a very clever way to make combat a puzzle in this. Like, it's very all puzzle driven. That's all done through the echoes, which obviously you guys... This was news to me because I hadn't really watched any of the deep dives, but obviously you guys would have known that in the world there's items that you can like take copies of to then be able to use them in combat or problem solving. Like, so like my demo started basically in a jail cell and I was trying to get out. So the story is basically these rifts have opened up around Hyrule. The king's been taken into that, as is Link, and Zelda's basically on the hook for it, about to be executed and then she basically has to get out of prison and prove her innocence. So first thing I do is scan a bed. Then I can put beds into the world and make bridges out of them and stuff like that. And it's like, it all ties into that. Like, so it's very cool. Requires a bit of lateral thinking. I can see the DNA from things like Tears of the Kingdom in terms of like how it approaches like physics and freedom in terms of its problem solving. And I think that's really cool. Similarly, there's obviously you had Ultra Hand in Tears of the Kingdom, and this has like bind and reverse bond. Maybe it's bond and reverse bind. I can't remember which way it goes, but why they didn't just use the same word in fucking both things kind of upsets me. But nevertheless, yeah, very similar sort of thing. So basically, the gist is you can use your tri-rod basically to lift things up and like place them as you can see it, and like you enforce force onto those so they follow your direction, whereas if you do the reverse one, you can like grab onto something and then it takes you with it, so you adhere to its motion. So a lot of cool like dungeons in this, a lot of cool boss fights as well, that again, like I said, the combat's not standard like action adventure fare. Like basically you'll be able to, in addition to items, you can kill the enemies in the world as well, and then you can scan them and then you can put them out to fight for you. Like I found like a pea hat which literally just fucking wrecked shop for like the whole second half of my demo. Like it was really cool, it was good. So I recommend getting the pea hat, absolutely. But yeah, I thought it was great. Like obviously I stand by the fact that I don't think it's the greatest looking game. I have a more of an appreciation for its art direction. It's very cute.
I think that's fine.
That's yeah. I'm entitled
Like,
to that. I can have that.
I'm not saying you're not. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So
He
I
is
don't know.
spoken.
I think it's just very clever. It's obviously a very. I feel different. Is it? I might be out of place, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like it's a very different take, or at least direction for a Zelda game. Or have other games taken this very puzzle-driven
like
approach?
it seems to be close to Tears, more so, right? Like, that's it? To answer your question, no. This is like
As
it's,
sandboxy, I don't think there's been
it's-
one that's as
yeah.
sandboxy
But
as this.
there's not been a 2D Zelda that's similar in this
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. So I mean, I like that they're going a different route and trying something different. I guess this late in the game, and to take a bold swing like this for Zelda's game, like I think it's really cool. So, yeah, to not go on about it too long, like I'm really excited for it. The first hour and a half made a really good impression.
Did you get much sense of like any kind of real dungeon, or was it?
Yeah, so I would say, to use, I guess, a comparison to Tears, like I would say the rifts that you go into, they're like kind of like the shrines, I think.
Okay.
And they sort of exist in this sort of quasi subspace like place where like obviously everything's like it's everything that's been sucked into the rift. So it's like very ethereal, I suppose, like, and very, I guess, frozen in time. Like, so people are like petrified in like, you know, they look like people who have been, I don't know, caught up in that Pompeii incident from a few years ago, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah,
a few years ago, 79 AD, mate.
is that
Who
right?
knows that off the top of their head? That's interesting.
History.
That's turnt.
Geeks.
Right.
In any case, yeah. So I would say they're probably analogous to dungeons in that way.
Yeah,
and
there
like
are apparently.
And it's in like the rift that I played, that sort of I encountered like a couple of like the more, I guess, difficult boss fights and sort of strategically driven boss fights. Like there was one against like a dark version of Link that was really cool. And then obviously I fought this big totem guy who gave me like another power and all that sort of stuff. So, but definitely a lot of like traversal puzzles and stuff like that. And as well, like I said, I had the reverse bond, so there's like a lot of floating platforms going across that I had to like make use of with those thingos. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, the overworld obviously has little dungeons you can go into and stuff. To like, you might go into one and get a bottle that you can catch a fairy in, which will give you the ability to revive if you die. Or you might go into another one and find P-Hat, my good friend P-Hat. So, yeah, there's definitely stuff in the overworld that's worth exploring, but the rifts, I think, serve as the dungeons in this game for sure.
I just have one question.
I'll see if I'm equipped to answer it. Let's see.
I'm sure you are. You've played it. I just wanted to know, what's to stop you? Is there a limit to what Zelda can make in terms of, can she just keep making beds until she's on the other end of the map? Or like,
As in, are you asking, is there a limit to how many echoes you can have at once?
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I can't. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there is. So every item in the world will have a price. So there's a cost to deploying an echo, I'll say. The power level is tied to, obviously, if you saw the trailer, you'd know that she's basically sprung out of prison and she's being helped along by this ethereal being named Tri.
Stuff.
And his tail is made up of, you know, X amount of triangles, which indicates his power level. So that's basically how many nodes of power you have to apply to echoes. So like a bed might cost 1. If he's got 4 power, you can make 4 beds. And then if you want to deploy something else, the earliest echo that you put out will just get wiped from the world. So it's really cool in that it doesn't interrupt the flow of the game at all. Obviously, you go into your little echoes menu and you pick which one you want, but you don't have to worry about like deleting anything. It just like erases itself from existence. So in that sense, no, you can't just spam stuff, and it definitely leaves that puzzle element to it, and you got to think laterally. And what I loved about it was that there's multiple ways to do things, which I think was the same probably with Tears, obviously. So like the guy I was in the room with, like I was one of two people that was playing it in the same room, and I was just like watching him as well, and like we were just doing completely different things, and I just that impressed me. I thought it was really cool.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm excited.
So am I.
That's good.
So
yeah,
am I.
good. I'm glad. I'm really glad that we were able to turn you around on this one.
I might be a Nintendo boy now, yeah.
Yeah, oh well. And all it took was a girl. Huh. Like Zelda. Just to be clear. In case. Anyway.
In case anyone thought Brodie met someone new.
yeah.
Sorry, Katie.
Anyway, speaking of girls, there will be lots of this party, the Mario Party,
Pauline.
Jamboree, Pauline, and amongst many others. Brodie, tell us about Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Yeah, so it's probably like most Mario Party games that you've played before, but it's just really jam-packed full of content.
A jamboree, if you will.
A jamboree. It's
A
jamboree
real Jamboree.
Yeah, it's I haven't. Full disclosure, I haven't played a Mario Party game in a very, very long time. Like I'm talking Nintendo 64 era.
I feel like the last few have been more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they try and be more like the 64 ones rather than some of the crazier ones.
Superstar
that have
was
been
like
in
that.
between. Yeah.
So basically on the surface, like the main part of it, like the boards, like that's pretty standard Mario Party fare. The one I played was a map called Mega Wiggler's Tree Party. So it was
sounds like a good time.
Yeah. I don't know if, again, I haven't played one in a long time, so I don't know if this is standard, but what I liked about the map is that there's like live elements to it that you can affect and try and screw up other players and stuff like that, which is really cool. There's a big wiggler in the middle of the map, and you can use him to take shortcuts to other parts of the map. But if you ring a bell in the map, it changes where he's going, so you can reroute it and sort of change things that way, so it's really cool. But outside of that, there's obviously the online modes, which have probably been the things that people have spoken about the most, I think. Maybe that's not been touched on that much, but you've got the like the Koopathon, and you've got the Bowser's Kaboom Squad, which are obviously very different sort of things. So the Koopathon basically, whether it's Koopathon or Koopathlon, I'm not sure, but nevertheless, it's basically a quasi-running race thing, basically, that's just set up as a bunch of like rapid-fire mini-games, and it's all just based on performance. And I think it's like a last man standing sort of thing, kind of like almost like an attempt at a battle royale. I got to play like all these modes, obviously, but as the servers went live, it was just against CPUs and stuff like that. So, Koopathlon was really fun. So, like I said, I like the rapid nature of it. All the games sort of lend themselves to that. You can see like the live scoreboard on the side to see who's like overtaking who, depending on how you're going. So it can be really tense in that sense. And then Bowser's Kaboom Squad, that's a bit of a weird one, like, because obviously it's in Mario Party, but it's more action oriented, I suppose. So you get dropped in this little map. At least the one I played, it's like Bowser, and you're versing like Charge and Chucks as well. And the idea basically is crates drop in the map. You've got to go collect them, knock them open with your friends. It's like you and 7 others, so 8 versus 1 CPU Bowser, so no one plays as Bowser. And you got to load this cannon and like hit every 20 bombs you put in. I think it like whittles his health down, and yeah, over the course of 5 rounds, you've got to beat him. But then in between each round, you play a mini game, which incorporates the Mario Party-ness of it all. And and if you perform well in this mini game, and they're usually, at least the ones I played, they were all like cooperative. So it's like 8 players all working together to try and like I guess boost your perks for the next round. So you can like unlock banana skins, which you can like place in the map, which Bowser like slips on and stuff like that, or dash pads, which means you can run faster with the bombs and stuff like that. I didn't get to like play the full game of it because I ran out of time, but I played like maybe 3 rounds, and the health was whittling down to the point where I thought, like, if I had played all 5, it would have been like a really tense and close finish. So, like, I can definitely see the value in that mode and how it would be a lot of fun to play online. So yeah, like, all in all, really fun. Like, I love these sort of games. Like, I remember, like, every now and then I still fire up like Pokemon Stadium just to play the mini games. Like, I love that sort of thing. So, and one thing I'll say, like, it's a really pretty game. Like, in motion, like, it looks really good, and the food in the game looks phenomenal. Like, there's a mini game where you slice a steak in half, and I don't know if it was just I was playing this like really near to lunch, but damn. And there's another one where like sandwiches fall down, and the curried egg sandwiches look really good. So 10 out of 10 for the food. But yeah, all in all, very jam-packed full of content. Like, you've got all these boards, 7 boards all up. I think, like, it's got the biggest roster of any Mario Party game so far. Like, it's like 21 players currently, 21 characters. And yeah, you got these online modes now, which sort of, I guess, elongate the appeal for people who like want to, you know, play long term and maybe don't have the people immediate to them to just play with the regular boards. So yeah,
remind me as well. Like, this is all like original content, right? Like, there's nothing carried over from a previous. Mostly.
So I think 5 of the boards are new, and I think there's 2 returning ones.
Okay.
And a lot of the mini games, there's 110 mini games all up. I think some of them do return as well, but obviously a large majority of it is new content. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
I feel
good.
like Mario Party games are kind of interesting in that, like, it's such a party game for me. Like, it's a game you dig out when friends are over and you just want to something or play together.
One
when I have my
want
friends
to
over, we're
party.
too busy playing Resident Evil, so I have no need for
One thing I am
party
actually
game.
one thing I'm keen for about it actually is that they explain they've got this new thing called Pro Rules, which means like, you've got standard play, which is just obviously the regular settings and stuff. But with Pro Rules, you can sort of it just serves as modifiers, so you can either make things easier or you can make things harder. And as someone with obviously young kids, like, that appeals to me because I'll be able to maybe play this with Eddie or Elsie or something like that. So. Because I don't have a lot of friends to come around and play Mario Party, so I'm going to have to play with my kids. But yeah, so I think that's a good step in the right direction in terms of making it accessible for more people. So
yeah. I feel like if you're the type that plays Mario Party games often, you're always excited about the next one coming up, so you can kind of refresh with a bunch of new games and boards and whatnot. So yeah, cool.
Sounds good. Well, I will be RSVPing when it comes out in October. So, because this episode has gone on for about 12 years, I don't think we're going to be doing a rapid fire question. Is that fair to say?
I didn't even come up with one, so
yes, no, that's fine. I just noticed it's blank, and it's the fastest rapid fire ever. So, moving on to what the Wiki, which is the Press Start Podcast's game show, where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and the contestants must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after one person scores 2 points. As last week's winner, I am in the hosting chair today.
Huge.
Yeah, big. Anyway, so I'm at the I don't know what I was going to say then, but I just kept saying big multiple times.
Yeah, got cancelled.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, so I'm on 30. Shannon's on 27. Ewan's on 25. Brodie's on 17. So there's real opportunity here, Brodie. I feel for you to really.
I can really stage a comeback here.
Get back in the race.
Set the stage for the rest of your year.
Wow.
Kieran on 10, Harry on 5. Nobody on Nilpa. We have to get somebody on, just so we can say it. Are we ready?
Roger that.
I'm doing this live, so if it's disastrous, I'm sorry. The game is played from a third-person perspective and features an open world for the player to explore in the form of a mall. The player must survive by... Ooh, yes, Brodie.
Is it Dead Rising?
It is Dead Rising. Look at him.
Oh, in a mole. I thought you said that you were playing as a mole.
A mole?
Yeah, I was like, what third person overworld game? Are you like a mole going under the ground and like digging away?
Oh, okay.
Well, shopping
something like that.
Yeah, well, anyway. I'm sure it's an Devolver game on the way. It's about that.
Sorry, did I say I was really tired?
Yeah. Okay. Brodie's on 1. He's really setting the stage. Everyone else is on none. Yeah.
He's really setting the stage.
The game. retains many of the gameplay mechanics from its predecessor, but also introduces new elements. Very dynamic. In combat, the main character has access to 5 different combat styles, each with unique features. I'm going to skip this.
Ewan,
Yes, Ewan.
is this Jedi Survivor?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Ewan.
Let's go.
Congrats.
That's a good jag.
Wow.
Wow,
Also
wait.
setting this stage.
Yeah, well, he's gotten up on the stage and taken down.
Shannon's still in the green room.
Yeah. Shannon's in the audience at this stage.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's a bit hard, but we'll work it out. This game is being developed by a studio.
Wow.
Before this game was co-funded by said studio, somebody who works there was a designer for Game Freak and directed Harmonite.
Shannon.
I heard Shannon first, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was me.
Go on. Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna say no. I don't know.
you've not
Power
commit.
World.
No, it's not Power World. Brodie,
The Plucky Squire?
it is the Plucky Squire. Congratulations.
That's- Brodie was the only one that was ever gonna get that.
That's not true. All of you won't shut up about that game. So like, that's why I picked it. I was like, it's fair game. Anyway, they're all coming out in the next 7 days.
Wow.
Exciting times. Yeah.
Oh, I mean Jedi Survivor, obviously.
Yeah, I was like, But
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's out on like Povo.
tricky. Bit tricky. Yeah. Trick question.
Well, I didn't know, but it wasn't. It was anyway. Congratulations, Brodie.
Thank
Very well deserved.
Means I need to come back next week, I suppose.
Yeah, it does.
That's our plan.
That is always. He's the man with the plan. Anyway, this has gone long enough. And with that, let us bring an end to this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at PressStartAU and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yeah, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty on everything.
Taking home 1 point, Ewan.
Yeah, you can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough.
And taking home 2 big points. Big, juicy
2
points.
Big boy points.
Stage stealer.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Brodie.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brodie_DG.
I've been, what was that, Shannon? Yeah. Just a long moan to end the
It's
show.
like a 20-hour day.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've been your host, James, and you can follow me on socials at JamesATJMZ. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Bye.